Okay, so we're at Craigmillar Castle today, aren't we, Claire?
We are.
And we are going to be exploring. Wikipedia is saying that this is a 14th century castle.
Okay.
So, very old. I'm assuming it was rebuilt a bunch of times since then, but... The Prestons of Craigmillar.
If it was 15th century though, that would be the 1400s, right?
I think I said 14th century at the start. It was abandoned in about 1760, I guess.
This range here is closed for repairs at the moment, but you can still kind of see through the windows and doors what it's like.
Okay.
It's open on the ground floor here, and really it's all over this side. So this building, 3 doors, one will take you upstairs, one on the ground floor, and one downstairs. Downstairs you go down to the prison and to the kitchens.
Cool.
Main door's over here, so you'll see it when you go in. We've left the one-way system in place. Right, not so much for COVID anymore, but it's not a ruined castle, it's intact. So when you go inside the tower, it's 6 floors. It's like a maze, right?
Yeah.
Spiral staircases all over the place. So if you kind of generally follow the arrows, it says go that way, you don't have to. You can go the other way. But generally follow the arrows, it'll guide you around.
Okay.
And you'll get to see all the different rooms and corridors.
Nice, nice.
You go out up here onto the battlements on this level. Right at the very top, you can get outside onto the battlements up here. Great views over the city today, so it's really clear. Don't get your hopes up for the pond. It's got no water in it.
Okay.
Right? But it's in the shape of a P, so you can still see that like this.
Ah, okay.
That's P for Preston, so that's the original family that built the castle, was the Prestons.
Yeah.
So the outline's still there.
Cool.
It's just not got water in it anymore.
You can tell. I mean, that board was like, it's the most perfectly preserved medieval castle in Scotland. And you can tell because it feels like there's nothing broken. Because
The roofing, obviously.
we've been to a lot of castles, right? And
We have.
it does feel like I would expect half of this wall to have been destroyed by now. You know what I mean? I'm assuming that's the crest of Preston, I guess. I just love that it was like, oh yeah, he gave up the castle without a fight, and then they made him walk all the way to London from here, which is like, what, 400 miles? The stables. This room was built as Gilmore's kitchen, but it was later converted into a stable. Look at the cobbles on the floor, later to create drainage below the horses' stalls. Ah.
That slopes down.
When the castle was built in the 1400s, a great hall stood here. It would have been used for grand public feasts, while a second hall within the tower was used for smaller gatherings and regular household meals. Over the centuries, great halls fell out of favour with nobles preferring cosy private rooms. The Gilmore family possibly demolished the Great Hall to build this range in the 1660s. Some of the stonework in this room around the fire and the corner tower may survive from the earlier building. Should we see what's in the tiny little chained off room? It's like a little dungeon. Whoa.
Whoa, this must be the tower then.
They must have had a staircase or something in here, because
Yeah, you can see the levels.
there's a doorway up there.
Yeah, you can see where the last floor was.
Closed off due to dangers. This is a drawing room, apparently. Can you see what that says over there? If you,
I can try. I know my eyesight's good. But
you've got like eagle vision, so.
This was the Gilmore family drawing room. They would withdraw here from the hall via this door that we're standing in. I can't see the bit at the bottom, but that's pretty good from
That's
this
cool.
far away.
Yeah. So number 1 is the Tower House, which is this. It says the earliest surviving part of the castle built by Preston in 1374. It contained large cellars, a grand hall, and bedrooms at the top.
Wow.
What else have we got? The East Range.
East Range, which is
This
little
one
section
here.
to the left, which is fashionable Renaissance rooms, including bedrooms and a gallery, which were added to the castle in the mid-1500s.
Okay. The Gilmore room range is where we were just over. It's where the stables are now, right?
So that was built in 1660 on the site of the earlier Great Hall. This range had comfortable rooms and large windows.
And then you've got the pond at the back, which
that you
is
mentioned.
which you was talking about before. Murder Most Royal. In November 1566, Mary Queen of Scots rode into the courtyard seeking peace and security. She had come to stay with her loyal supporters, Simon Preston, at a time of terrible stress. After falling ill, she remained here to recuperate. During Mary's illness, her lords are said to have hatched a plan to get rid of her vain, violent and ambitious husband, Henry, Lord Darnley. The scheme would go down as one of the most notorious plots in Scottish history, known as the Craigmillar Bond. It would shape Mary's life and end Darnley's.
Okay.
No one knows how old the two majestic trees in the courtyard are, but some legends connect them with the visit of Mary Queen of Scots. The earliest record of them is from 1890, by which time they were already notable. So they've been here for ages. Almost all parts of the yew tree are poisonous. The seeds within the red jelly are like berries, are dangerously toxic. Great. Opening to the basement in the tower house, 16th century. Damn. So this is the cellar. This cavernous space was once divided into 2 stories by a wooden floor. Both rooms would have been used for storage. Rents were often paid in produce like vegetables and grain, so lots of space was needed. You can see where the floor was. For the second story. Well, that's like I said, they were much shorter. Like, they would have been like mid 5 feet. I mean, look at the size of that door. Like, I'm above this door frame here. Yeah. I'm telling you, Claire. Archways. They last.
They do.
This is going to be here for another 1,000 years. Remember when we went to Italy and we was in that bathhouse and it was just archways everywhere, and they'd all survived. But just height-wise, mental.
Oh, I nearly cracked my head even after I went under it.
Okay. Fashionable feasts. Meals in the 1400s were very formal affairs carried out to a strict etiquette. People were seated according to rank, with the laird and his guests at the high table. Diet was also dictated by status. Chicken, lamb and fresh pork were made for the upper classes, while the lowly ranks had to do with beef and salt meat. Here in the hall, the laird dined with his and entertained about 70 people twice a day. God, that's... No wonder they were fat. Plain wooden trestle tables were covered with finely woven linen tablecloths. There was colour all around, with tapestries on the walls, and across doorways and painted timber ceilings overhead, music and other entertainments were provided between courses. So this was the second floor, right?
Where those like little sticky out bits are.
Yeah, they probably had like the balconies that went around, and they would do music from the top.
Probably, because you wouldn't have a lot. If they're seating 70 people in here, there wouldn't be a lot of space.
Yeah. By the time Mary Queen of Scots stayed here in the 16th century, fashion had changed. Day to day, she would have eaten in her private chambers. Public dining was reserved for church feast days, marriage banquets, and other celebrations. So this room started life as the castle's kitchen, but was later converted into a private chamber. Though small, this was a well-appointed kitchen. Its stone cupboards acted as medieval fridge to keep food cold. Bread was baked in the small oven, which I'm assuming is this.
I think this is the oven, and then this is the fire. So
yeah, they would have had
something to kind of put over that to keep eating.
That would have been like a cauldron area, right?
Yeah. These are really cool. I love these ideas.
Bread was kept baked in the small oven while meat roasted on spits and cauldrons bubbled over the fire. Didn't we see that before, where it was like they put in jars so they could cook multiple things at once?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're making the most of it rather than just doing one thing at a time.
First floor kitchen was an unusual innovation from a medieval castle. Most were separate buildings in stone-lined ground floor chambers to reduce the risk of fire. In its earlier stage, Craigmillar might have had a courtyard kitchen as well as this one to cater for diners in the Great Hall building.
Okay.
The Upper Loft, possibly used as storage space. So maybe they played the music up here. You can imagine like they've got a bunch of seating down there, and someone comes up here to like make an announcement.
It proper echoes as well when you were talking down there. I was like, wow, that's
Yeah.
loud.
So this is once the finest bedroom in the castle. It may have been here that Mary Queen of Scots recuperated from illness in 1566.
Ah.
So this would have been Queen Mary, Queen of Scots' bedroom. It's about the size of our bedroom. The year 1566 was eventful for Mary. Months of tension preceded her stay here. In March, David Rizzio was stabbed to death in front of her by her own lords. Since then, the behaviour of her husband, Henry Lord Darnley, had grown increasingly wild. In June, she gave birth, and in October, almost died of sickness. Arriving here, she fell ill again, possibly with depression and exhaustion. While Mary lay sick, her lords are said to have plotted to get rid of Darnley. Their agreement, the Craigmillar bond, would develop into a design for murder. On the 9th of February 1567, Darnley was found strangled. Sorry? What's that bit say?
Darnley's murder was the turning point of Mary's reign. She never managed to dispel the suspicion that she had been involved in the plot. The following years would see her abducted, raped, married again, captured, imprisoned, forced to abdicate, and finally tried for treason and executed. Her life was filled with drama, passion, and conflict.
Alright then, looks like we're going outside. Let's go left. Ooh, now that's a view. I see an army coming for miles up here, Claire. It's a very, very nice view. But you can see, obviously, the walls of the castle below us. That's where we came in when the guy was showing us around. This is the path we walked up when we started, on the right. So, we've done a nice little loop here as well. And that's Arthur's Seat in the background over there. So that peak. Famous place for climbing. Just noticed that obviously you can see Arthur's Seat, but you can see Edinburgh City over there, and that building right in the middle, the big fat one behind that, is Edinburgh Castle. So you can see Edinburgh Castle from Craigmillar Castle, which is cool. And then on the left, well, the right hand side, we have the other part of the roof, which looks like it used to be a room. Obviously the roof has disappeared. I'd like to know what it was, that'd be cool. Yeah, but there's no real information about what this was. We spotted some medieval knights going at each other. I'm sure somebody's honour's been insulted
It
somewhere.
looks like they're practicing. There might be, you know, those guys that we saw when we went. Which castle was it when we saw all the knights and they were doing like proper fighting?
Yeah.
They're probably training to do that.
I'd assume they could train anywhere, but why not train in front of a castle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it a bit more realistic.
And there's that P. There's
Yeah.
the lake.
Wow, you really can see the shape of it still, can't you?
Yeah.
It must have been a deep pond.
Hmm.
The next bit.
We're over the top of that.
Oh, this would have been a bedchamber, apparently.
Yeah.
Although there's no floor there anymore. That would have been the fireplace.
Had its own latrine closet. If you needed to go and relieve yourself. But this would have been wood all the way across, right?
Yeah. It's quite scary to think that all that was between you and like a 20-foot drop is just some layers of wood.
I don't know. I mean, they would have used some
They
big,
must have had
thick
some
beams.
Yeah, true.
This is the gallery.
Okay.
Galleries like this became popular during the Renaissance as spaces to walk up and down on wet days and to play music and games. Music makers' skill in music was seen as a mark of culture and education. It's like that the Prestons would have had a range of instruments. Mary Queen of Scots was a skilled musician and singer and may well have played here or been entertained during her stay in 1566. All of Mary's personal male servants were also musicians. She had a consort of 5 viol players and 3 lute players. She liked her tunes. Mary often sang when accompanying herself on the lute. She also played the clarsach and the virginals, an early form of piano.
The class.
And that's apparently
Highland harp.
that's apparently a Highland harp.
It's now held in the Museum of Scotland.
Ah. Said to have been given by Mary as a gift to Beatrix Gardine of Banchory in 1563. So people would have come up here and played games, played dice games, played music. This would have been like an entertainment room almost, old school games room. No pool tables, but I bet it was nice. And again, you can walk along the outside.
Little tower in the corner.
Nice view. Yeah, there's towers on both sides.
Yeah.
You've got the, I can't remember, these are called cressellations or meticulations or something. And the idea would be you'd have armies attacking, coming towards the wall, and you'd be able to shoot arrows at them downwards.
Yeah. So they wouldn't be able to see you, but you'd still be able to shoot.
Little graveyard.
So, in memory of...
A little church.
I can't see because of the shadow. Someone, Gordon Gilmore,
Chapel. Private chapel.
and his wife, Susan.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that would have been specific for the castle. A little church that they could go down to.
Definitely, yeah. It's like a little tiny little graveyard. Makes you realise how far you've come round.
This is the
What a
area.
view.
This is the area we started in down there. I can't believe how well kept this is.
I know.
It's crazy.
I can't believe how warm it is in November.
I've got to say, of all the castles we've been to, I think this is the one that's in the most,
The best condition.
the most conditional state, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to places like Edinburgh Castle or Stirling Castle, and they've been done up to make them look fresh again.
Yeah. Whereas this is the original.
This is the original. This is like, I can't believe how well preserved it is. I mean, we've been places like Kenilworth. Kenilworth's destroyed. It's about the same time period.
Completely destroyed. It's basically just ruins, isn't it?
Yeah, Kenilworth's the same time period, and that's been destroyed. We went to Linlithgow Palace. That's just in a wreck, and that's from Mary Queen of Scots' time. Whoever built this, they knew what they were doing.
Absolutely. And you don't know how well it's been looked after over the years as well. Right?
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
I guess a lot of them though were kind of destroyed. We went to was it Urukate Castle near Loch Ness? Urquhart, Urukate.
Yeah.
And they were saying that the reason that's destroyed is because they blew it up. They purposefully blew it up.
That's when the Jacobites stole all of those, went and stole all the livestock.
Well, the problem is Oliver Cromwell went round and he just burnt everything down.
Yeah, there's a lot of the damage in Edinburgh Castle's from Oliver Cromwell as well, isn't it?
Yeah, looks like a place to go for a nice crap.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Nice
Well,
view.
yeah, if you're stationed up here, you need somewhere to go to the toilet, right?
Nice view in the night time to have a private
Stick your arse
private
over
poo.
it.
Just don't be walking underneath. But yeah, I'm from Nottingham, and Nottingham Castle was destroyed by Oliver Cromwell. There's just a fancy stately home now. It used to be a huge fortress, and then Oliver Cromwell came in and burnt it down. So this is the kitchen.
So
This is the actual kitchen.
the one below is this the original kitchen then?
It says it's from the kitchen from the mid-1500s. It was built during repairs after English troops burnt and destroyed Craigmillar. So burnt and destroy it. Brunt and destroy it. On May 15th of 44, the castle was captured by the English army. Edinburgh was under attack in the Rough Wooing, an attempt by Henry VIII of England to force a marriage contract between the infant Mary Queen of Scots and his son Edward. The English army burned Craigmillar Castle and got great spoils, as many Edinburgh people had sought to safe here movable therein, stored things in the castle for safekeeping. When the Prestons regained Craigmillar, they rebuilt this wing of the castle as a fine residence and planted formal gardens in line with the latest fashions.
Wow, okay.
Within the doorway to the second floor of the
cellar.
cellar, yeah.
I'm assuming it was a 2-floor cellar because it doesn't say there was any other
Well, that's what it says when we was down there, because this would have been floored over.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have been able to see the bottom floor. This would have just been a flat.
Straight into the cellar. So that's basically, so if you're in the hall you can get to the cellar, and if you're on the second floor you can get to the cellar?
Yeah, smart. This would have been someone's bedroom. I feel like, again, this would have been 2 stories, right? You can see the beams, well, the things that would have held the beams.
Yeah, this looks like a fireplace.
Yeah.
And then this is a
Fireplace on the second floor. Fireplace on the first floor. No wonder these places always burn down. You've got wooden ceilings above a roaring fireplace.
Imagine how cold they would be without the fires though.
Yeah, there's no glass windows, right? It would have just been holes.
Cold walls.
Little storage room. Or something else.
I think that's a lav.
That's a toilet.
Yeah.
And again, look, it's at two floors, so you can see where the floor ended. You can see where the beams would have gone into the wall.
Ceiling seems so low.
There's the second story fireplace.
Not as important as this one.
It's like you were saying, it's 6 stories. That's impressive for those times.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming this is a dungeon or something, because we're going down under the castle. The prison, there you go.
I said about the prison.
Okay, so local lords were responsible for doling out justice in the areas. At Craigmillar, prisoners awaiting sentence would have been held in this dark, dank space. Notice the door locks from the outside.
Ah, yeah.
At least they've got somewhere to go for a,
Got a lav at least.
a lav. Saves them cleaning it, doesn't it?
Still a very small, confined space.
Yeah. No windows.
With no light, yeah.
No.
That's probably just where
Just that little hole there to tell you what time of day it is.
Oh my god. Imagine without that light and no sunlight.
I feel like,
It'd be pitch black.
Man in the Iron Mask. Only poor criminals would have been held here. Aristocratic offenders would have had more civilised quarters within the castle. This was once the castle's bakehouse. Bread was the staple food. Would have been served with every meal.
That's your oven right there. Good, Nick.
Like a fancy pizza oven. But you could still cook in that,
They would have been used to bake bannocks, pies and pastries, as well as loaves and bread.
Ovens were heated by burning peat or wood until the stone was hot. The door would have been open whilst the fuel was burnt, allowing the smoke to escape through the vent above. When the peat had burnt down, the ashes were scraped out and the dough placed inside to bake. Afterwards, the ovens were cooling. They were
Used to dry herbs, grain and firewood.
interesting. So it wouldn't have been like a pizza oven where there was fire at the back. They would have heated it up like an oven, so that it was really hot in there, and then they would have put stuff in to cook.
You can see it was a fire by how black it is in here.
Yeah,
Like around there.
you can see the char, yeah.
And all the way down there looks black as well.
Yeah. Right, we're in the side building now. This is the blocked east postern gate. So this would have been a way into the castle. So maybe they blocked this up because it was security concern. One way in, one way out.
Maybe, they've got a fire here, so maybe they're guards or something
Yeah, barracks.
in this room. Been blocked off there now.
Go somewhere. Northeast corner tower, used at one time as a dovecote where pigeons were kept for food. There's loads of names scratched into this wall.
Whoa.
Water inlet. Northeast tower.
Openings for guns.
Interesting. Yeah, and here's the little chapel.
Maybe in need of defence at some point, I guess.
This well
Oh shit.
was the castle's main supply of fresh water. People could come from the castle through a side door, which has now been blocked up to draw water. So that's that door that was blocked up on the other side.
I
You
see.
see? The chapel would have been divided by a timber screen. Members of the castle household could worship at this end. Beyond the screen was the chancel, the holiest part of the church containing the altar. Only priests and the richest benefactors could enter there. So that's what it would have looked like.
From the 1500s.
The Prestons demonstrated their Christian devotion by supporting the local churches. So William, Craigmillar's laird, gave St Giles Cathedral an arm bone, said to have belonged to St Giles himself. After William's death, the cathedral's Preston aisle was built in thanks. This crucifix dating to 1400s was found here at Craigmillar. Chapel continues to be used as a burial place for the Gilmore family, the last owners of the castle. Ian Gilmore, 2007.
It looks like he was Lord Gilmore of Craigmillar. So I don't know if he's the latest one. It looks highly likely. I can't see any others.
1939 there. 1961. Yeah. That's what it looks like inside. We can't get in.
It's so small.
Yeah.
Do you know what I found out the other day? That there's over 2,000 castles in Scotland alone.
Doesn't surprise me. Got the unicorn there.
Yeah. 3 unicorns, not just one.
Yep. Another little area for chilling.
This is their garden.
Yeah, so they would have had
Chilling.
a place to walk around and... What is it? If I have one more leisurely stroll through the garden, I'm going to kill someone.
Yeah.
Really nice. You can see where all the windows used to be on the wall, look.
Yeah.
They've all been taken out. Or filled in.
Kept the ones in the top so you can see the view.
Yeah. In front of you, the earth has been designed in the shape of a P. It's thought to stand for Preston, the name of the family that built Craigmillar and lived here for 2 centuries. This P-shaped ornamental pond formed the focal point of the castle's pleasure gardens and parkland. The P-shaped ornamental fish pond is likely to have been built by Sir Simon Preston of the 1550s. As a central feature of his south garden in 1792, it was described as being bordered by trees on either side, with 2 small islands in the loop of the P. Okay. Planted with a pair of hawthorn trees. We only know that in Sir Simon's day, the pond and surrounding gardens would have been formally designed, and the gardens would have been used for pleasure. Hawking, archery, music making, embroidery, and bowling. Like bowls, I'm assuming, not 10-pin. There are also formal gardens to the east and west of the castle, as well as vegetable gardens and orchards. Imagine that. Can you find the heraldic panel above the door to the west garden and solve the cryptic puzzle beneath it? Here's a clue. The amount of wine in a barrel used to be known as a ton. So there's a puzzle on that unicorn thing we saw. We'll have a look. 3 unicorns. A ton is a barrel of wine. So what is that on the left? Preston.
Of
Preston.
course, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The barrel is the ton.
Yeah. And
So what
press,
is it, a
that's
press?
probably like a printing press or something.
Okay.
Preston.
Clever.
Smart. And that's it. What did you think, Claire?
I really enjoyed it. Much better than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's much more well kept than I expected. Bigger than I expected.
All of those things.
Yeah.
And
Definitely come back.
It's literally a 10-minute walk away from our house.
Yeah, and we get free entry because we're Historic Scotland, so
Yeah.
yeah,
There's no
we'll,
reason not to come, right?
we'll definitely be back. And it's coming at like sunset, at like the golden hour. Looks stunning.
Well, yeah, because the sun goes down at about 4 o'clock now. It's
Yeah.
2:30.
Like this footage I've got is about as accurate to what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. So Claire's just been attacked by a dog.
I don't mind.
Cutest dog in the world. So, we were just talking to the guy, weren't we, Claire? And he was saying that Craigmillar, the reason it's so well kept is because it's been really lucky. So, when Preston got forced out and had to walk all the way to London, one of his kind of caveats was that he didn't want the castle to get destroyed. So they agreed to that. And then obviously they didn't get burnt down and destroyed like most of the other castles. And then the Gilmores came in, so it was someone was living in it. So usually,
And he was a high judge in Edinburgh, so they had
Yeah.
loads of money.
Yeah.
apparently.
So it was well kept there, and obviously because there was people living in there, no one would come and steal stones or the lead from the roof or whatever, because you couldn't get away with it. And then a couple of old ladies started living there, and again they couldn't come in and take anything. They started blocking up windows and doors, which is why all those windows were all bricked up for cattle, so they could keep the cattle locked in. So even if people wanted to come and steal stuff, they couldn't. And then obviously Historic Scotland came in, and now it's managed, so it's been very, very lucky. I mean, think of all those churches that have got no roofs because people just came in and was like, I'm having that lead.
Yep.
I'm having that.
That's it, they used to steal it to sell it or to use it to build something of their own, right?
So it got away with ignoring the let's blow up all the castles and burn all the castles down logic. He was talking about Oliver Cromwell, and he was saying Oliver Cromwell couldn't really justify it because the chapel was only tiny. It wasn't a big religious area. And then it got away with not being looted and robbed because of the fact it was always lived in and occupied.